Did you hear that?
Yeah, the recording
All right, we are live. All right, what's up, everybody? I know it's been like such a long time, almost 3 months now, but hey, we're back. I'm here with my buddy Jack. So before we get started, I want to do a little quick sponsorship ad. This is sponsored by Big O Vintage. You guys know, well, actually, you don't know because I haven't said anything about him yet, but my guy Owen Ridgway has a little clothing business he's got going on the side. Sells really cool vintage hats, T-shirts, jackets, anything you need that's vintage, old school stuff, really cool stuff. Go check him out on Instagram at Big O on Instagram and give him a follow. And anything you're interested in on the page, just give him a direct message and he'll get you set on a price. And if you're in the Jackson area, he'll ship it. He'll meet you to get it, or if you're outside the Jackson area, he will ship it directly to your house. All right, Jack, what's up, brother?
What's going on? How are you?
Man, it's been crazy, dude. I haven't hopped on a podcast in so long, so it kind of feels a little weird to do it again, but I'm actually glad. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. And you and I have been trying to get this episode for about 3 weeks now, but obviously my fault.
We've been putting it off nonstop.
Yeah, we've been putting it off. We've been putting it off for a while, but
like we've either had work or our Wi-Fi's down.
Yeah. But we're finally here, and so I'm gonna take it back to obviously where else to start from then. UFC 264. I mean, what a freaking card!
Oh my God.
Unbelievable card. I mean, of course you and I, being huge McGregor fans that we are, the fight didn't go the way we wanted to, but I mean, I was more interested in, after the fight. I don't need it. We were more interested in what was going on after the fight, than the actual fight. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, the card and what do you think we can expect, as far as the future-wise and, your overall opinion and the initial thoughts of the whole entire card?
Well, I will say this. I thought the whole card itself was incredible, both the main card fights and the prelim card fights. I think the main event itself was a huge letdown probably for everybody watching, because everybody had been waiting 6 months to see Conor fight again and watch him and Dustin fight again. And for Conor to just, snap his ankle and snap his tibia in the first round, I think that was just a huge disaster, pay-per-view wise. I think that was probably one of the worst pay-per-view events the UFC has ever hosted. People have been waiting 6 months to see this. Like you and I both have been waiting 6 months, keeping up with the news, keeping up with what all was going on around it. And for it to, end in the first half by doctor's stoppage because Conor snapped his tibia, it just sucks.
Yeah,
just sucks for everybody.
Yeah, honestly, I was really amped up for the fight. Obviously, I mean, it's been almost 6 months since Conor had fought, and Conor turned the nice guy switch off immediately after he lost TKO second round at his last fight with Poirier. So he turned off the nice guy switch and just immediately just became, the old Conor that we all knew and saw from back in, 2014, 2015, 2016, trash talking, getting real personal with his opponents.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. The whole trash talking thing was amazing. I was so happy because, for the past two events, Conor has been a nice guy with, Cerrone, and then going in with Poirier, they were so nice. It was like, hey, I want to try your hot sauce and I want to try your whiskey and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was real nice. And I feel like that was just I don't know what was going on with him. I don't know, just fixing something about his morals or whatever. But obviously, none of that mattered once the fight was over because he said the most personal thing I've ever heard somebody say about another fighter in the octagon and on live television and in that arena in front of thousands of people. So it was just like, being back in 2016 with the Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez press conferences. So it felt really good to see him like that again. But obviously the whole thing with the wife and the DMs, probably shouldn't have really been said, but it was. And I think a lot of people are glad that it was because everyone missed the old Conor. But
Well, if there's one thing we've learned from Conor, it's that he's completely unpredictable.
yeah,
And you never know
absolutely.
you never know what he's going to do. And
Absolutely.
I think after he lost to Khabib back in 2016, I think he took a new route and just decided, hey, this trash talk thing ain't working for me anymore. But the thing about Conor is that his biggest weapon in his arsenal is his ability to get into his opponent's heads.
Yeah.
And he did that with Eddie Alvarez, Jose Aldo,
Nate,
Marcus Brimage, anybody else he ever fought,
yeah.
Cowboy Cerrone. And it worked against those guys because, they fell into the trap of, going in. Most of them after the fight, and they talk about it, and they're like, I went into the fight, with emotion, want to just tear his head off and not thinking, the smart way of thinking, like, how am I going, put him down?
Yeah.
Most who were just fighting angry, and that's why they ended up losing. And it almost got to Khabib. It didn't work for Khabib, though, in the end, until after the fight, because we saw what unfolded with that, and that was just a huge disaster. Yeah. But Khabib, I think it's just kind of stopped working for him.
Yeah. Khabib is he's just a different type of animal, and I'll get into that later. So, what do you think is going to be next for Conor after, just this gut-wrenching loss? And obviously he's going to go on his record as a loss, but, obviously Conor doesn't think it that way. So what do you think is next for Conor and for him after this event?
I don't think Conor's done. I really don't. And I don't think he's done because, for one, in the press conference before the fight, the third fight with Poirier, he did say that he was down to do a third trilogy fight with.
Yeah, that thunder's crazy.
It's bad over here. It's bad. But anyway, he did agree to a trilogy fight with Nate Diaz, which would be huge. So that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
Also, and the thing with that is that, people will pay so much money to see that.
Yeah,
I'd pay a ton of money to see that.
I would pay as much. I don't care how much it costs. I would throw in any money to watch that fight happen again.
Any amount I'd pay. But also another thing, I don't think Conor's going to have trouble finding somebody to fight.
I don't think so either.
Everybody that he fights, they instantly become a millionaire whether they win or lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people are chomping at the bit to be able to fight Conor.
Yeah.
And based on what all he's done for the sport and for the UFC and all the revenue he's brought in, I don't think they're just going to cast him out and be like, you'll never get another title shot again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I just can't see the fight in the UFC just, kicking to the curb just because of what all he's done for the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And this goes back to, I was watching Joe Rogan talk the other day, and he was saying, and I'm gonna quote him a little bit. So this is what he said, and it was like, I hated how people were talking about how Conor McGregor's done and whatever, but obviously people who say that, don't know anything about MMA. This sport is full of, it's one of the most unpredictable. It's probably is the most unpredictable sport ever. You never know what's going to happen. That first round doctor stoppage was on none of our minds. Nobody thought that at all was going to happen.
Nobody would have predicted that to happen. Nobody would.
And I hate it when people are saying, Conor's too old or whatever, that's just not true at all. Conor is, if Mike Tyson can get in there at 51 years old and beat Roy Jones Jr., who is another boxing legend, if he can get in there and beat him, then Conor can fight till he's about in his 40s. And Conor is nowhere near done. Obviously, he wants to fight again, and he will fight again. And right now, with me personally, the Poirier 4 fight is the last fight he needs to take right now, I think he needs to obviously take this time to heal, which he's already, back in the gym or training his upper body at least, staying off that foot. He's got to do that and just be very cautious about training. And then I think for me, if I were Dana White and I were to offer him a fight, obviously the third fight with Diaz is going to be the most reasonable fight for Conor to take, because right now, both of them have nothing to lose. Nate's lost his past 2 fights, obviously both of them by stoppages because that dude's face is so easy to bust open. So I mean,
Yeah, it's the eyebrow every time.
Yeah, and
You get that guy with a pine cone, he's gonna bleed.
Yeah, and I think that fight probably makes the most sense in terms of Conor, and obviously both fighters are going to walk out with a huge bag. Conor obviously is going to walk out with more than Nate, but
yeah,
I just think that right now Conor that Nate Diaz trilogy, it's not only, and they're going to make more money for that third fight than any other belt is going to get them in the world. Selling the biggest super fight in the history, the biggest super trilogy in the history of the UFC. This trilogy, it means a lot more to Conor as a fighter because, it's 1-1. You got to do it a third time. Conor and Nate both said, we have got to do it a third time. And you and I, obviously, and every UFC fan and all the Conor McGregor fans, even Dana White wants it, man, and I think that's the most reasonable fight for Conor right now because, there's nothing about getting a belt. It's just simply, who's going to win the series. And then I think if Conor does do that fight with Nate again, which he most definitely will, if he beats Nate, then that's huge. And that sets up Conor for another fight with somebody else, in the lightweight division or
higher up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe getting him in there with somebody like Michael Chandler or Justin Gaethje or hell, maybe even Islam Makhachev, somebody who can test Conor McGregor because right now, you and I both know Conor cannot hang with some of these young guys because some of these young guys are incredible. Dustin Poirier, I think he's, obviously he's going to fight Oliveira for the championship. That'll be a good one. That fight's going to be crazy. I like Dustin Poirier personally. I really do. But obviously with me, I'm kind of biased about Conor McGregor, whatever. That's whatever. I've been watching him since 2014. So he's and that fight would be huge. And I feel like Conor needs to win at least 2 more fights, maybe 1 or 2 more fights before he can fight Poirier again.
I mean, I agree to an extent. Conor's got a lot of different routes he can take. He could fight Nate for that third trilogy fight, which would be huge, and that'd bring in a ton of money for him, both him and Nate, and for Dana, which, Dana's never going to turn down a bunch of money.
Right.
And he could also him and Poirier have agreed to fight for the 4th time, which I think is like the first, what would you call it, quadruple. The first 4 times that they've, fought, that'd be the first time in history that's ever happened.
Yeah.
And I think that probably will be the only time that will ever happen too. I don't think they'll ever do that with anybody else. And like you said, I don't have a problem with Dustin Poirier either. Honest to God, I would have rather it had been like they had battled out for 5 rounds, and I would rather have Dustin won
win like that,
by like decision. You know what I mean? Or even not, rather than just wait months for Conor to snap his tibia first round and have a doctor stoppage call and just end the whole thing. And that just sucks. And Conor's going to be on crutches for another like 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, at least 6 weeks, and then after the 6 weeks, it starts to rebuilding the muscle.
He's got to go through a ton of physical therapy, which is going to suck. But I mean,
obviously he's going to work harder than anybody to get that muscle back because I know he wants it. He wants to get back, and so I think it would be the best thing for him to do that.
Yeah.
What did you think Dustin did to prepare for this fight and then ultimately led him, to beat Conor back-to-back?
Well, if you go back and watch the first time that Conor and Dustin fought, back when Dustin was like, had the shaved head, goatee.
Yeah, douchebag Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, douchebag Dustin. I think Dustin kind of fed into the trash talk that Conor was giving him, just like just about every one of his opponents has fed into, and it's affected how they fight. And 9 times out of 10 end up losing because of it, and that's just such a huge weapon that Conor has that his opponents don't have. Yeah. And I think he kind of fell into that the first time they fought, and that caused him to lose because he was fighting angry. And he even came out and said he was like, I was fighting with emotion, that's why I lost. And then the second time they fought, Dustin won. And that was back when Conor was like Mr. Nice Guy, like you were saying. They were trading hot sauce and Conor's whiskey, and they were being nice, talking to each other, whatnot. And dude, if you go back and watch it, like Jolie, Poirier, and Conor were like buddy
in the locker room after the fight.
Yeah, Conor's wife and Dustin's wife were friends, and Conor and Dustin were friends at that point. And then I think it just kind of broke for Conor whenever he lost, because he was like, okay, this Mr. Nice Guy stuff isn't working anymore. Because he was the same way with Donald Cerrone, and he was the same way with Dustin the second time they fought. And then he ended up losing. People started, saying, oh, this and that about Conor, being nice and not working out for me. It's like, okay, if you want me to be, a jerk, I'll be a jerk.
Yeah.
And he's done it. He's probably, he can be a jerk. We've all seen that. We saw it on Twitter last night at like midnight.
Oh my God, that was insane.
It was bad. Twitter was a war zone.
That was really bad.
But that's the thing about it, is that people will be like, oh, we want the old Conor back. We miss the mean Conor. And then you get the mean Conor, and everybody's like,
okay, oh God, that's too much.
Like, who could say that? That's just him. Like, that's what you asked for. And then they ended up getting it. And now people are mad at him. I mean, I'm not justifying the stuff he said last night at like 1 o'clock in the morning while he was possibly intoxicated. But, that's Conor for you. You can't predict him. I mean, if you're going to ask for the mean Conor, you're going to get the mean Conor. And the mean Conor is pretty mean.
Yeah, he's the tweet that here, let me go find it. Yeah, the tweet I'll pull it up. So the tweet that that we're talking about is some of the, like, obviously Conor as a fighter, I respect him, but at terms of personal standpoint, that's he kind of got a little bit. He kind of got. Wait, did he delete it?
That's he went back and deleted it this morning at like 6 a.m.
Oh, I'm scrolling through his Twitter right now, and the only thing that I'm seeing is him and Ronald Acuna. That's like the earliest thing I'm seeing. He must have deleted it. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. I
mean, yeah, it's. I think he woke up and was like, saw his phone and was like, oh my God, and deleted them. But everybody in the world probably has screenshots of what he said, and it's not going to go away. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you can delete it. You could probably he probably could have just left it up there for the rest of, eternity, and it'll pan out the same way for him, because it's always going to be there. People have it, and people have seen it. It's just, it's not on his page anymore. You can probably Google it and find it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just the way he is, I mean, nobody can really change him, especially in terms of a trash talk standpoint. He's going to get personal in every aspect. He doesn't care if it's about somebody's wife or somebody's deceased father. He doesn't care. He's going to come after you one way or another. And that just helps him win fights. And if it works for him, then I'm all for it. I mean, I know like it sounds bad or whatever, but if he does that, if that boosts his confidence to win fights, and if that gets in their opponents' heads, like when Conor and Poirier fought for the first time, Conor was just unleashing, calling him a dumb hillbilly, whatever, and then there's a clip of Poirier saying like, I've never disliked somebody as much as him. Like, that is literally proof of playing and fulfilling the part of mental warfare and getting in the head, and and obviously it showed in that first fight. K'd him up in the first round. So
and then the thing with that is, like, Khabib is probably the most level-minded human being on the planet, let alone probably the most level-minded.
Nothing can shake him
to ever exist. No, the kid's been fighting bears since he was 6 years old.
Yeah,
like ridiculous, right? And
I think that none of us on this earth have seen a fighter or an athlete as Khabib. I mean, he's just.
I don't think we ever will see another one again, honestly.
No, the only person that could ever live up to him would be Islam, was because, he trains in Dagestan. I mean, he's Khabib's like one of Khabib's best friends. I mean, he trains him, and like I said, you and I were texting each other the night of the Islam fight, and Khabib was creeping around the back, acting like we couldn't see him, but come on, we all know we could.
we can all spot Khabib out.
Yeah, But
You went,
I think Khabib is just, I feel like he did exactly what he wanted to do. He came in, he fulfilled his father's legacy, became the greatest UFC fighter of all time, and then bounced. And, and that's what was his plan the whole time, and he did it. And
yeah.
and I'm going to say this, I respect Khabib a lot. I really do. I think that, what he's done for his people in Russia and what he's done for his family, I really respect him. I think he's, once again, he's a phenomenal fighter. I don't think anybody will be able to beat him besides Prime GSP, which we'll never be able to see that.
We'll never get to see that.
We'll never know. But I respect, and I think Khabib is really happy right now with, being retired and coaching people. And I think he's, I was listening to this interview on SportsCenter with the guy who interviewed Khabib after the Conor fight. And after listening to that, Khabib, there is no chance of him ever coming back at all, no matter if it's for a $20 million fight, whatever. He doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care about money. All he wants to do is just, it's just the way that he was raised, just, I don't know. I'll never, we will never understand because we had come from literally a completely different world than him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't know if you saw this, but, like, you probably know this, but Khabib in Dagestan is, like, the equivalent to, like, Tom Brady here, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like a hero, okay?
Yeah.
And so after the fight, it made, like, national, local news in Dagestan, all over Russia, pretty much all over the world. But people, like, were out celebrating the whole night after the fight. I mean, you can literally go online and see videos of them, like, shooting AKs off in the air. People were, like, celebrating stuff. And I mean, this is a true fact, actually. If you can look it up right now. 22% of the population in Dagestan are Olympic gold medalists.
God, that's
insane. That's insane. Like, ridiculous.
I don't even know, like, how that's even possible, but that's just called a country. They're just so different than everybody. I mean, like,
could you imagine if they had the facilities there like we do in the U.S.?
That'd be 10 times better.
Imagine, be superhumans.
Yeah, they'd be just the freakish amount of athletes.
Yeah,
I want to talk about Sean O'Malley for a minute. Dude, Sugar Show is here, and honestly, like,
he's here to stay.
He's here to stay. I am, like, right now, I am the biggest Sean O'Malley fan right now. I love this guy. I mean, I heard he's, like, the coolest guy in person, and then he kicks ass in the ring. I mean, literally, he gets in there and just absolutely destroys people. I mean, that fight on that card, that was the first card on the prelims, or that was the first card in the main event.
First fight of the main event card, yeah.
And that was his main event debut, Sean O'Malley's main event debut. And I don't know how to pronounce Chris's last name.
Maltino?
Yeah, that guy. Now, I got a lot of respect for that guy. I mean, that guy took it like a freaking champ. I mean,
he's got an iron.
O'Malley landed. It said he landed 88% of all of his strikes thrown in that fight. That is insane. That's
pop. Like,
that's literally that's nonstop. And he was hit, and that guy Chris was hit over 200 times that whole entire fight, and he basically went the distance. I mean, the fight was stopped literally at the very end of it, but I mean. And I think after this fight, that guy has gotten so much praise, Chris has. Yeah. Because nobody has ever taken a beating like that and actually came out, standing and being able to speak a full sentence and so, yeah, I got a lot of respect for the guy. I mean, he's unbelievable. And but Sean O'Malley, on the other hand, he's 155, right? Yeah, he's 155.
Sean O'Malley,
or is he 145?
I think he's 145.
Okay, so he's in featherweight.
Yeah, he's featherweight. But I will say this. Chris Maltino is a beast. Definitely, he came out on, I think it was like 11 days notice.
Yeah, 11 days.
They called him up 11 days before the fight, while he was with his mom. And is he from New Mexico or Arizona? One of the
Dude,
two.
Sean's from Arizona.
Sean's from Arizona, but Chris is
Yeah.
from like New Mexico, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe. I might be wrong. But they called him up 11 days notice. His mom was like, "Hey, do you want to fight Sean O'Malley for the first fight of the main card for Poirier McGregor 3?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, sure,
why not?"
He had been doing small league stuff, but he had never been on a stage like this. And I mean, sure, he didn't win. I mean, I don't know how the guy even.
I wouldn't even say that the guy lost, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I don't even know how the guy had the down there to be like, yeah, no, I'll fight Sean O'Malley for Conor McGregor's undercard. Like, I'd freak out. I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be like, no, definitely not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, you were sitting right there. You were sitting right next to me, watching the whole thing, and people were pretty pissed that it was Herb Dean called a stoppage to it. But I can understand why. I mean, like you said, he had landed 88% of his shots taken.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley landed 88% of the shots he had taken. And he had over 200 hits. Like, that's 200 blows to the head. Like, that's serious head trauma. Like, I think Herb Dean stopping that fight probably gave Chris Maltino 10 more years of his life. I mean, I'm being dead serious. Like, it was that, and it was just like boom, boom, boom.
I mean, that guy was just taking a beating that, like, unlike anything I've ever seen before. I mean, and for him to take a beating like that and then basically finish the fight. I mean, if it were me, I don't really remember, but I mean, the stoppage was like very, very late. I mean, maybe a minute left in the third round, maybe a minute left, maybe.
Yeah.
If it were me, I mean, obviously Chris would have been knocked out, but I mean, because towards the end, Chris started to, get, woozy from those hits or whatever. But if it were me, I probably would have kept the fight going just to see how long this guy could keep going. Because, I mean, if I was Herb Dean and I was sitting in there watching him, just getting mauled, I was like, I can't believe this guy's taking this. And he took it. And just after the fight, I mean, he stood there, and just, his hand wasn't raised. And obviously he knew that was going to happen because, I mean, but I think it was a phenomenal fight. And I think Sean O'Malley he's going to do some pretty good things. I think he's going to do some pretty huge things in the UFC. Obviously, he's a huge draw now, especially after what happened here. And also, he's real popular on social media. I mean, I follow him on TikTok. Yeah, I follow him on TikTok. He's hilarious on TikTok, dude. And then he hangs out with like a bunch of YouTubers like Steve Will Do It and the Nelk Boys and all those guys.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he's been hanging out with them. Funny. So and he's a huge draw on social media, and that helps because nowadays social media has just became just bigger and huge now, and with him being really popular on social media, I think that could really help him as far as selling fights, and he could be really huge in the 145 division, and maybe if he moves up to 155, he could fight some of those bigger guys and maybe get a shot at the title. But obviously the kid is still really young. He's still got plenty of time to prove himself as far as, getting a title and, etching his name.
Wait. Sean O'Malley's bantamweight, right? He's bantamweight, right?
Bantamweight. That's even lighter than
135. That's 135.
135.
Yeah, that gets me confused too. I always get confused with bantamweight.
Yeah, I get confused with the weight class.
And then featherweight. But dude, you saw after the fight, Sean O'Malley called out who was it? Rob Font. He called him Fob Bryant. That was pretty funny. He called out Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, Peter Yan. Peter Yan's a beast, by the way. And who was it? Dominic Cruz. I didn't even know Dominic Cruz was still fighting, and he's still in the rankings.
Yeah, I would love to see Cody Garbrandt and Sean O'Malley fight.
That'd be incredible. Both
are huge trash talkers. I mean, Cody Garbrandt is a huge trash talker. I mean, you saw whenever he got in the octagon with Dillashaw, and then obviously when he fought Dominic Cruz, just constant back-to-back trash talk. So I would love to see him and Dominic Cruz fight, and then also him and Cody Garbrandt fight as well.
What I think is going to happen is I think Sean O'Malley will end up fighting the winner between Aljo Sterling and Peter Yan. And the Peter Yan and Aljo Sterling fight will be for the bantamweight title. Yeah. And then whoever wins that fight will have to defend it from Sean O'Malley. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what's going to happen. And
I honestly think that
who knows? Cody Garbrandt.
yeah. I honestly think that Sean O'Malley could be.
I mean,
I feel like he could be championship material. Honestly,
yeah, definitely.
If Sean O'Malley keeps winning fights in the fashion that he's doing them, then Dana White would be a complete idiot to not offer him a fight, offer him a title fight. So, and also,
he's got a lot of publicity, like you said.
Yeah.
Like he's on social media and stuff. He's active on Instagram. He's hanging out with Steve will do it. Weren't they hanging out? You told me.
Yeah, the Milk Boys. Yeah.
Yeah, people are going to pay the same fight because he's an interesting dude. I mean, if you see some of the memes before the fight with him and Chris, it's like Chris had the bright green hair. Sean's got the face tats and the rainbow hair. They call him like 6'9" or whatever. It's pretty funny. People are going to like seeing him fight more, and I think he's got a future.
Yeah, I will. I will keep watching this guy. I mean, he's
for sure.
And for people, especially who aren't watching the UFC as much, if they're looking for, if you're disappointed with, Conor right now, and if you want to see somebody fight, I would really watch this kid, Sean O'Malley. I really think he's got a huge future in this sport, and he could be a huge pay-per-view draw in the next couple of years, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I could also another thing, TJ Dillashaw.
Oh
he fought
my
the other
God.
night against Hagen.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people thought that was a robbery.
No.
I didn't on the other hand. And because
that was an amazing fight.
Yeah, that was good. And Corey landed some hard shots.
Yeah, he did.
But, TJ was just eating those. And sure, he was like cut up right here above his eyebrow, and he got stitches or whatever. Now I know he had some nerve damage in his right foot.
Yeah.
But dude, all those shots he just took. I mean, he started leaking early too in the second round, but nonetheless, I mean, he landed some good shots too. I think it was just the elbow. The elbow to the eyebrow right here, that got him bleeding. That made people think, I think Corey's gonna win this fight. I mean, I can see why people would think that, but it was a really good fight, and I didn't really think it was a robbery. But I could see TJ Dillashaw fighting the winner of Aljo and Peter Yan too. I could see that happen.
Yeah.
And then Cody Garbrandt fighting Sean O'Malley. That's if Sean O'Malley doesn't fight defend the title against Peter Yan or Aljo.
So I'm trying to find this picture of this new card that's coming up. It's the card. What's the card with Nick Diaz and Whitaker?
You talking about
there's two title. Yeah, there's two title. Yeah, I'm not Whitaker. Why'd I say that? What is that 266, I think? Yeah, here it is. All right, hold on. I'm gonna share my screen because I want to talk about this card because this card is unbelievable. And then also the UFC is like never ceases to disappoint.
No. This is the only sport that can make that stuff happen.
All right, so can you see my screen?
Yeah, no, I can see it.
All right, so first, let's start off at the top. Obviously you got Alexander Volkanovsky and Brian Ortega. I love both these guys, really. I love Brian Ortega. He's a veteran for this sport. I mean, he has been doing this for a long time. And then then you got, Volkanovsky, who is honestly a hilarious guy on TikTok. He's hilarious. He's really funny because his accent makes everything funnier. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I don't know too much about these girls right here.
Valentina Shevchenko.
I'm not really, but this is the one that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler too. I don't know why that's obviously because it's not a championship fight, why it's not the co-main event, but I mean, Nick Diaz has been out of the game for how long? I mean, it's been a long time since he's been out. And honestly, when you and I first heard about that, we were both completely stoked to hear about Nick Diaz coming back because I love the Diaz brothers as a whole. I mean, both of them, they're absolutely crazy. they're hilarious and they're awesome. I mean, I love those guys.
They are.
And then you got Robbie Lawler, who's just a freak. I mean, he's crazy.
He's nuts. Yeah, no. Have you seen him and Rory McDonald fight? It was way back. It was back when I was like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
But
Okay. No, I do remember that. I think I do remember watching this fight a long time, like on YouTube.
It was insane. Like, it was insane. That's probably the best fight I've ever seen besides McGregor Diaz too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm willing to bet that that's probably the most gruesome fight I've ever seen in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then I'm going to put one more thing up. Hold on. And then there's another fight, a huge fight that was announced.
Talking about Lewis versus Gain?
No, it was hold on, let me pull it up. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm gonna pull it up, but it was Usman and Colby Covington.
Oh,
yeah, the rematch.
Kamaru Usman?
Yeah,
that's in the works, right?
Yeah, no, it's pretty sure it's announced. They announced it.
Did they announce it?
They announced it today, I'm pretty sure.
Did they really?
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull up the tweet. Yeah, here we go. July 26th. So it was literally announced yesterday.
No way. I see
let
it
me
right
let me I'm gonna pull up my screen so you can look at it. All right, so look, here's the tweet. So here it goes. Breaking news. So here we go. So they're two facing off right there. And it says that Kamaru Usman will meet Colby Covington in a welterweight title rematch at UFC 268 in November. The date and location have not been finalized yet, but the UFC is hoping for the fight to take place in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, it'll definitely be in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's huge. 100%. That's really huge, especially the draw that these two guys bring. You know, obviously the last time we saw Usman fight was just an absolute mauling. I had never seen, a right hook that hard to be hit by somebody before. I've never seen someone been hit by Howard before. And just look at this picture on this. Just look at this picture. I mean, look at all the security. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four security.
Got one over there too in the back. You probably just can't see him.
4 security guards are holding these guys back from literally trying to kill each other seconds before the fight's about to start. That just shows you what a rivalry really is. And obviously this is a huge rivalry in the welterweight division. I'm a huge fan of Kamaru Usman. Yeah. He is an absolute beast. I think he is on his way to achieving a GOAT status. If he just keeps winning fights, then he is going to achieve his goal as being a GOAT in the welterweight division. Right now, he's definitely – obviously he's the champion, which means he's the best fighter in the welterweight division. But second best is Colby right here. I mean, don't underestimate this guy. I mean, this guy comes out of nowhere as far as with fights and everything. I mean, he's and he is just apparently – I was hearing Joe Rogan talk about this. He has a persona when he's in the UFC. Apparently, you know how in the WWE, obviously everyone has a character, and if some people are good guys, some people are bad guys. Apparently, Colby Covington is playing the bad guy in this industry just so he can sell fights.
So is Conor too, if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
What?
Well, Conor's been that way forever, but with Colby Covington. Apparently, he wears the MAGA hats and the blue suits and talking all this.
He tries to be as controversial as he can. So does Conor, though.
But apparently, outside of the sport, apparently he's just such a different guy. Apparently, he's so much nicer and he'll take pictures with you and everything. And apparently, he's just such a nice guy outside of the UFC, which I mean, honestly, I don't really care. I mean, if he's doing this to sell fights, that's cool. I mean, if he wants to sell fights this way, then whatever, that's cool. I mean,
hey, if it sells fights and it works, hey, do it.
Yeah,
because Dana White eats that stuff up.
Yeah, oh yeah, he loves it, especially with these two, because Dana White loves these two.
Yeah.
And rivalries, not just in this sport, but in all sports, that's what sells is rivalries. People hating each other, teams hating each other. I mean, I'll just name a few. I mean, you got Alabama and LSU. You got, I mean,
State and Ole Miss.
State and Ole Miss, but that's just more like a local thing. But it's sort of a national standpoint, North Carolina and Duke. I mean, there's so many. I mean, Boston and the Red Sox and the Yankees. I mean, there's just so many rivalries in the sport that.
Hey, and also Jackson Prep and JA. Hey, It may not be a big deal nationally, and nobody probably cares, but Eastover Drive is a war zone.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing down where we are. Yeah, that's a huge thing down where we are. But as far as the whole rivalry thing in sports, that is the main reason why people want to watch sporting events in general nowadays, just because, the trash talk that's built behind it and the hype that's built behind it. Obviously everyone wants to watch a UFC fight. Everyone loves to watch two people get in this gladiator type arena and just watch two people, beat the hell out of each other for money. And, I love to watch it. I mean, I've been a fan since, 2014, and I've grew such an attraction to this sport simply because of the hype that builds up to fights. And it's just, and it's just not just with UFC, it's with everything, with boxing. Boxing obviously has a lot. Like with Floyd, and when Floyd and Manny Pacquiao were fighting, there was a huge, country standpoint, USA versus the he's a Filipino, I'm pretty sure. I'm not really 100%.
Well, Manny Pacquiao?
Yeah.
Yeah, Filipino.
Yeah,
remember
Filipino.
The video when they first fought and Dana White went on a rant about –
Yes, I was actually watching that video the other day. It cracked me up. It was like Floyd said to go tell Manny Pacquiao to eat some sushi. And he was like, sushi's from Japan. He's from the Philippines. He's from the Philippines, you dummy. I mean, that was funny. And I want to talk about boxing for a little bit, actually. And, I mean, it's not the boxing that you'd think about, but I want to talk about it because it's huge right now. It's obviously going to be about the Paul brothers. And with me, I like Logan Paul as a YouTuber, as a podcast guy, but I don't know how I feel about him as a fighter. Obviously, both Jake and Logan take this thing very seriously. I mean, they're starting to take it seriously, and right now Jake Paul is doing really, really good for the sport of boxing right now. Because in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think the sport of boxing is literally on its way out. I mean, when was the last time you bought a boxing pay-per-view that wasn't, like a Jake Paul? Or the last time I actually watched a pay-per-view was Conor and Floyd, and that fight shouldn't have even happened, and yet it happened anyways. This is what I'm saying about boxing. Boxing, Joe Rogan quotes it as a dying breed, which
he's not wrong.
This is what you and I were talking about the other night. We were saying how boxing only requires one aspect of fighting, and that's just straight up slugging, punching people in the face.
Yeah.
The UFC, on the other hand, requires literally every single aspect of fighting. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing. I mean, every aspect of fighting goes into that sport. And I just think that with boxing right now, if the Paul brothers were not doing boxing would be nothing right now. Nothing. And I hate to say that because I'm a fan of boxing. I really am. I love boxing. I loved watching the old Mike Tyson fights, Holyfield. I loved watching so many boxing. I mean, my dad would just tell me so many times about, he loved every time a Tyson fight happened, he would be there to watch it. And I love boxing. I'm a huge boxing fan. There's obviously this huge fight coming up between Tyson Fury and what's the other guy's name? I forgot.
Are you talking about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder?
Yeah, they're fighting for the third time again, which obviously that fight's going to sell. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it, obviously, because it's a huge fight. But besides that, within the past, ever since the McGregor-Mayweather fight, there has been no boxing card that has gotten more than 1 million pay-per-view buys. Not even 1 million, maybe less than that. And I don't believe for 1 second that the Jake Paul and wrestler just fight him, knocked him out in the first round.
Oh, Ben Askren. Yeah, no,
there's no way that fight sold over 1 million buys. I don't buy that at all. I don't, because first off, I mean, I've already talked about it in the previous podcast, but I'll just tell you it again. That card was an absolute disaster. It was a major disgrace to the sport of boxing. And right now, what Jake Paul's doing for the sport of boxing is good because he's trying to bring boxing back into mainstream. Because right now, the UFC is taking over the combat sports. I mean, but the rivalry between UFC and boxing can easily be settled. That UFC is obviously going to be a continue to rise sport because there's new guys coming into the sport every single day.
Yeah.
And boxing is literally on its way out. And I hate to say it, like I said again, I'm a huge boxing fan, but it's just on its way out. I mean, I can't name many other boxers besides Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Anthony Ruiz. I can't name any other guys besides, the 4 main guys that have been in the sport for the past 3 years. That's it. I can't name anybody else. And Ryan Garcia. That's it.
Yeah. No, I will say this. I don't really keep up with boxing nearly as much as I did with like UFC and MMA. But the thing with Jake and Logan is that, I think they're taking it serious. Yeah. I mean, who would be willing to fight Tyrone Woodley in a boxing exhibition and just not be serious about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how could you decide, like, I'm gonna get in a ring with Tyrone Woodley and it's just gonna be like for gigs, right?
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're both taking it serious. Same thing with Floyd Mayweather when him and Logan fought. And
I think Floyd obviously did that fight for the money.
Yeah, no, he did. He played with Logan Paul for 5 rounds. Everybody saw that. Everybody knew. But I will say this. I like Jake. I'm sorry, no, I like Logan a little bit more than I do like Jake.
Yeah, because I can't stand Jake Paul, dude. I'll talk about that when you're finished.
Maybe it's the same way with Colby Covington and Conor McGregor. Like, maybe it's just for, pay-per-view buys or publicity. Yeah. I mean, if it's that way and it seems to be working for him, then, I mean, that's his thing and it's working for him. Same thing with Conor and Colby. I guarantee you both Conor McGregor and Colby Covington wouldn't have the reputation they have now if it hadn't been for, all the extra stuff, like the talk. And, I mean, yeah, he'd be up there with a bunch of them, but, he wouldn't have the platform and the spot on the podium he has now if it wasn't for all the trash talk and all the extra stuff. And do you remember the little, the big incident at the Barclays Center back in 2016 when Khabib, the infamous Dolly through the bus incident, where
that was all about the build up to the Khabib and Conor fight, I think.
Yeah, no, it was right before the press conference for Khabib and the rest of the fighters that were on the main card.
The bus, yeah.
Yeah, and Khabib had his bus with Michael Chiesa, Rose Namajunas, and a bunch of other fighters who were fighting on the same card. And I can't remember what happened. I think Khabib said something about one of Conor's teammates and sparring partners, Artem.
Artem, yeah.
Yeah, he said something about Artem, called him whatever he said. I couldn't know if he was speaking in, I don't know if it was Russian, Arabic, or both, but called him something, and it pissed Conor off to the point where Conor hopped in his jet from Ireland, flew to New York, drove to the Barclays Center with about 13, 14, 15 of his friends.
Yeah, he had a huge crowd with him.
He had a big crowd of people with him, and picked up a dolly, chunked it through the bus window. Yeah. And that was huge. Like, that made national news. Like, that was bad, right? And Dana White acts like it was like, oh, this is horrible. This is not what we're about. he eats that stuff up.
Yeah.
He eats that stuff up because it's gonna get people to watch it. People are gonna be like, oh, I want to see them fight now. He eats that stuff up. He doesn't hate it. He'll tell the cameras he hates it, but he doesn't. It makes him money, so he loves it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the I think with that whole thing with the Dolly thing, I just remember when that happened, and I just remember not liking Conor at the time. I really didn't. I was not happy with him. I obviously a lot of us weren't, just because what he did could have seriously injured fighters. Could have put them out of commission for a long time. I mean, that's a 30, 40-pound dolly going straight through a window. I mean, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that'll take somebody out for sure.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty sure it took out like maybe two fighters.
Michael Chiesa was out for concussion.
Yeah.
I don't think Rose Namajunas was hurt, but I think she had to
she's a thug.
She is something else.
But
sure.
I think with that whole thing with the dolly, I feel like Conor did that on purpose because he knew that the Khabib fight was coming up. He knew that this fight was going to happen, and he needed something to get Dana White's attention. And obviously Dana White didn't like it because it's illegal. I mean, Conor wasn't supposed to be there at Barclays Center. He was in a completely different country, flew across the world in a private jet and drove to New York. And I mean, he wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, it's breaking the law. And the fact that he did it in the style that he did, he was being all boasty about it, saying smash the windows, whatever, doing all that kind of stuff. And I don't really know. I mean, obviously that was a long time ago. Obviously he's changed a lot. I mean, not really, but I mean, obviously he's changed a whole bunch, but
he's going back and forth, the nice guy and the not nice guy.
Yeah. But here's one thing I will say about the Conor and Khabib rivalry. And I tweeted about this actually. That rivalry is way bigger than people actually think it is. Because obviously it's the whole thing about them hating each other. Like, that's the whole thing about any rivalry. But this particular rivalry is bigger than the UFC, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because obviously it's a country thing. You got Ireland versus Russia. Obviously Russia is 100 times bigger than Ireland.
And the people there are a lot crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, Conor did that because he knew that was going to get everybody's attention, and he knew that was going to get that fight happening. And what's funny is that during the hype up event, during the hype video that somebody made, I was watching a hype video that somebody made for the fight, and even on
they
ESPN,
used that incident.
Exactly. Yes,
yeah.
It was promotion. It's all about promoting, and that was a huge part about selling that Khabib fight, was the whole thing with the dolly and the nationwide, the nations colliding, going at war with each other, and then the whole Artem thing, and then Conor said some things about one of Khabib's friends getting pulled off of a plane on September 11th because he had a bunch of different passports in him. And I don't know if that was actually proven to be true, but if it is, that's completely insane. But
do you think you could pull up the clip from when it happened? You think you could find
the dolly fight?
Dolly, yeah, no.
Yeah, I think I can. I just don't want to get copyrighted for it. If I play it for like a second, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Are there like legalities with that? Like showing other people?
Nah. I think since I'm a smaller channel, it probably won't be that bad.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let me see. Insane alternate. All right. Can you hear that? You can't.
Come to the.
Probably can't hear anything, can you? Like
I
the
can't hear
YouTube
anything.
video.
No.
Jack,
Hey, I can hear you. I can hear the video.
I can't hear you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. I turned my volume down.
Oh.
All right, hold on. All right, so I got it pulled up. So let me get this thing. Just get my screen shared. All right, so you can all right, so you can see this, right?
Yeah, no, I can see it.
All right, so I'm gonna do a zoom in. So we'll do a quick little breakdown of this fight. So you got, all right, so I'll play it. There's the bus. There's Connors. I don't even know who that is. And I mean, there he is. There he comes.
Goes over the dolly.
And boom. I mean, that's crazy. That's unbelievable. I mean, and I still can't believe that fight actually happened even after that whole altercation thing even happened.
Yeah. No, it was a huge fiasco, but it did bring a lot of money and a lot of pay-per-view buys.
I mean, now it's the third most bought pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah. What was it, like 2.4?
That had a lot.
It was 2.4 million, and that doesn't even count like the probably another 1.5 million people that illegally streamed it. So if you think about it, probably like 5 million people watched that, but 2.4 actually bought it and paid for it.
All right, so I'm gonna pull it up on my phone here.
Yeah.
Actually, oh wow, this can't be right. Yeah, so it's actually the fourth most bought, in front of Mayweather Pacquiao, Mayweather McGregor, and De La Hoya versus Mayweather. And it had 2.4 million buys. But then that's freaking insane. What's even crazier to think is that, like, that was what, and then the Mayweather Pacquiao fight almost has 5 million buys.
Yeah, crazy.
That's crazy.
Like if you do the math, like how much did the Khabib pay-per-view cost? Because I remember I didn't buy it. I watched it with another person.
It was probably like $60. That's usually how much pay-per-views go for.
So I'm curious, what is 60 times?
Yeah, it's probably a lot.
2.4. Let's see. That's 100. What? No way. Does this sound right to you?
What does it say?
Okay, 6 times 2.4 million is one. Does that look right to you? Can you read that?
Yeah.
Does that look right?
14 million?
14 million?
It makes sense, really. I mean, I don't. It honestly probably sounds about right to me.
Yeah, but like.
I mean, who am I to say it? But I mean, it probably sounds about right.
That's just an ungodly amount of money. Like that's insane.
Yeah, that is crazy. And then I wanted to talk
and all that went right. Yeah, I was just gonna say all that went right into Dana's pocket. Probably before he had to pay, the bill for the arena rent out and the bill for, Connor's purse and Khabib's purse. Also the rest of the fighters on the main card and the prelim card, and then you got to pay security, all that extra stuff, music, light, like bills, all this extra stuff, and it probably came down to still like say about $10 million, just crazy money.
So I wanted to talk about one last thing before we get off, and it's about so it goes back to the Jake Paul and Logan Paul situation. Yeah. So this is rumored. I got this on a Bleacher Report notification, but it says that Logan Paul is apparently in talks with fighting UFC legend Anderson Silva in a boxing match.
See, that's what I don't like. Okay,
I would have a lot more
if they decided to fight like real boxers. Like if Logan Paul was like, "Hey, at Ryan Garcia, let's box," like that'd be like, "Oh, he's fighting a boxer." But like he goes from fighting Floyd Mayweather to fighting a UFC retired UFC veteran? Like, why?
Yeah. Well,
Why?
apparently Anderson Silva has been doing a lot of a lot of boxing training.
Is he really?
So yeah, so apparently this has just been, what he's been doing as far as training wise.
How old is Anderson Silva?
Let me pull it up. Pretty sure he's old though.
He's old.
He is 46. So yeah, he's old. And I'm pretty sure right now he's boxing. I'm pretty sure he's doing some boxing right now.
Hey, check this out. Check this out. Look at this. You see this light flickering?
Yeah.
You see that?
Uh-huh.
Dude, I think a lightning bolt just hit our power line. That's freaky.
All right, well, let's wrap this up before we leave. So I just wanted one last thing. The Jake Paul Tyrone Woodley fight is about a month and 2 days away.
Yeah.
Something like that. Who you got on that fight?
I'm going to turn this down. I'm about to have a seizure. Hold up one sec.
All right.
That's better. There we go.
Yeah. Let's hurry up. I don't want your Wi-Fi to crap out. So
yeah, that'd be bad.
So Jake Paul versus Tyrone Woodley is August 29th. That's coming up. So
yeah,
this is a pretty tough fight to call because Tyrone Woodley is 40 years old. He has not won a fight in 4 years.
Yeah.
First off, how do you sell that fight? How do you sell that? I don't understand how you sell that fight.
I don't get it either. Unless they can pull something off like this huge fiasco stunt where they just talk trash to each other and everybody's like, ooh. Because the majority of that audience is going to be 13-year-olds. Like, oh, Logan Paul's fighting. And they probably don't even know who Anderson Silva is. Mm-hmm. And what's probably going to happen? Logan Paul is probably going to knock him out. Okay, let's be honest.
I'm talking about Jake Paul.
Oh, we're talking about Jake Paul.
Yeah, Jake Paul and Tyrone Woodley. Yeah.
Okay. Totally different scenario.
Yeah.
If Jake Paul ends up beating Tyrone Woodley, I'll take Jake Paul serious.
I will too. I will take him seriously as a fighter.
If he loses, I'm just gonna be like, okay, he's probably done.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a rematch clause in their contract.
Is there really?
Mm-hmm. So if Jake Paul loses, he has no choice but to fight him again.
Yeah. And I know what's going to happen. Oh my God. One of the other is going to end up losing, obviously, right? And then that person will be like, no, I want a rematch. I mean, it's all a big Ponzi scheme, if you ask me. Now, if Jake wins, if Jake legitimately beats Tyrone Woodley, that's going to be the point for me where it's like, oh, like he's for real. Like he's serious. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But just the fighting Ben Askren and fighting the 60-year-old Kroger worker, like that. What does that prove, right? Fight a boxer, or at least fight a boxer in the UFC.
Yeah, to me, Jake Paul still hasn't proven to me much. I mean, obviously, one thing that has been proven is that this kid can fight, and I believe it. I know he can fight, but can he fight against somebody who is a veteran fighter in the sport of boxing and not somebody who has not fought in almost 4 years, and then also against somebody who has got a dad bod, and then against 2 YouTubers? That's not a boxing resume. That's just a fighting resume.
No. Now Logan, on the other hand, he has a little bit of a resume.
KSI is a good fighter. I will give Logan Paul that.
I never watched that actually. The one time I've actually watched one of those fights, I did watch Logan and Mayweather, and I did watch Jake Paul and Ben Askren because I wanted to see Ben Askren win so bad because everybody always craps on Ben Askren for the 3-second
knocked out,
flying knee. And I was like, come on, Ben, just win this one, buddy, for the house.
Yeah,
but it didn't happen.
Well, here's my final thing I'll say is with Jake Paul, if I feel like this fight is going to be a knockout either way between both guys, but I feel like if somehow Jake Paul wins, then he needs to fight somebody, who's a legitimate boxer and not a YouTuber, not a wrestler, not a UFC fighter, an actual boxer. And then maybe I'll start taking him seriously.
Yeah. No, I agree. We'll just have to wait and see, though.
We will.
Who knows? Jake Paul could knock him out first round. You never know.
If that happened,
I wouldn't even be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. But
yeah,
Jack, I appreciate it for coming on. I'm going to stop the recording, but stick around afterwards, all right?
All right, sounds good.
All right. Thank you all for watching. See y'all later.